Hello, romance readers. Welcome to Illicit Liaisons with Tender and Tempting Tales, where each week we discuss the good, the bad, and the naughty of romance fiction. I am Jenna Hart, a romance author of the Southern Heat Contemporary Romance series and the Sexy Valentine Mysteries, as well as the managing editor of Tender and Tempting Tales, a steamy romance anthology for readers who like quickies.
Hi, I'm Tara Leederman, social media manager here at Tender and Tempting Tales and lore maven and main fiction writer for Starship Valkyrie, a science fiction game and story universe. I write science fiction stories, including sci-fi romance and urban romantasy. You can often find me in our anthologies and on Substack.
And today I'm very excited to have Suzy England. Suzy and I started out as baby writers together. And we've had different journeys, but here we are, years later, books
Yes.
published. So I'm so excited that you're here. Let me tell you about Suzy. She is an Amazon charts bestselling author of women's fiction and romance. Her heartfelt and relatable stories first captured a global audience on Wattpad. Her work was read by millions there. She was a finalist in Harlequin So You Think You Can Write contest, and Suzy has penned pieces for Amazon Prime Video and Book Trip. She's the proud member of the esteemed Tall Poppy Writers and the Women's Fiction Writers Association. Now, before turning her attention to writing full time, Suzy spent 26 years as an elementary teacher. These days, she enjoys traveling with her husband, spending time with her grown children, and rooting for her alma mater, the University of Texas at Austin. Her most recent release is the romantic women's fiction novel, A Singing Bird Will Come, which has a gorgeous cover. I think that's a beautiful cover. And this fall, her contemporary romance novel, Unmasking Mr. Will release. She has ARC slots still available to those who are listening who might be interested. Now, you can find out more and follow Suzy's bookish adventures on her website, suzyengland.com, and on Instagram. And of course, we're going to have links to all this in our show notes. Suzy, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's always a treat. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, we go way back, and
We
what a beautiful
do.
thing.
I'm always telling Suzy I'm old.
Well, I'm right there with you, honey.
Anyway, anybody who's listening for any bit of time knows that we always like to include our guests in the topics that we're discussing. And we always like to ask our guests about topics they might like to discuss. And this week, we'd like to discuss the butterfly effect, how seemingly random connections lead authors on paths they never expected. And so, Suzy, how have you found this happening in your own career?
I I think it's so fascinating that you can be in a room with 100 authors and you're going to get 100 different stories of how their author universe and their author world has played out. And I think that is what makes it so special. We're all kind of on an island when we're actually sitting down doing the work and having those connections with other authors. I feel like you can't do this if you don't find your community. And I've heard that from so many other authors. You have to find your people. You mentioned earlier that I'm a member of a group called the Tall Poppy Writers, and the way that that came about is really kind of the butterfly effect for me, being able to find a real community that embraces me and supports me. And it's it's a author collective. It's cross genre. There's like 30, I want to say 34, 36. Sometimes it fluctuates, members of this collective. And I was invited to be into it. I was still very much a baby author. I know you mentioned we were baby authors 20 years ago. I still feel like I'm a baby author, but I'm in a collective with some very accomplished writers, and they have kind of taken me under their wing, and it's been great. But the interesting thing is that I didn't really connect with this group until I followed a fashion influencer on Instagram, which
Huh.
is crazy. So that to me is my butterfly effect with how I truly found my true tight community of fellow authors. I happened to follow a woman several years ago. Gosh, time goes by so fast. It's probably been like 10 years now. I followed a fashion influencer named Beth Jalali on Instagram. I loved all of her fashion, and she followed me back and we kind of became friends. And then I found out that she had actually written a book. She was writing thrillers and mysteries. She was agented. Her book went out on sub. It did not find a home. But about that time, her social media for the fashions influencing just took off. And so then she was getting collabs with Talbots and all these different women's wear places. And so she kind of put the writing on the back burner for her. But she also had a book club on Facebook called Book Club with Style. And it had thousands of followers in it. But because she was so involved in the fashion side of her Instagram, she had kind of let the book club kind of go by the wayside a little bit. And she happened to reach out to me one day and said, "Hey, I know you're a writer. I know you've got a book that you have a book deal on, your first book that's being published. What would you think of coming and kind of taking over my book club? You would meet other authors who come on as guests and you would facilitate the book club." And I said, "Yes, absolutely." And she said, "I want to introduce you to kind of my co-pal who was running it with her at the time." And it was best-selling author Hank Philippi Ryan, who writes incredible thrillers. So
Yes,
I
yes.
was
I've
like,
met Hank.
yes, amazing. So we had a little thing where we all hung out together on Zoom, and Hank and I met and we hit it off, and then we ended up running this book club together for, I want to say it was about a year maybe. But in that time, our friend Beth, who started the book club, she was really taking off in the fashion influencing space. So she made the decision that she was going to close down the book club, even though we were fine with it and it was great. She just kind of wanted to segue out of the book thing and just focus on the fashion thing. And about that time, when we learned that Beth was going to shut the book club down, Hank came to me and said, "Hey, since book club with style is about to end, what would you think about coming over to the book club for the Tall Poppy Writers, also on Facebook, with about the same number of members? I want to say it was about 10,000 members. And that way you meet other authors." And Hank made an introduction to me on a Zoom with the founder of the Tall Poppy Writers, Anne Garvin, and we hit it off. And then I became kind of the face and the host / moderator for Bloom, which is the Facebook group with the Tall Poppy Writers. So again, it was this whole, I followed a fashion influencer and then look at all of the things that have happened as a result.
Yeah, serendipity. And I remember Hank, I obviously don't know her as well as you do, but I remember her complimenting my backpack. And like, I was all excited. Hank likes my backpack.
Listen, any compliment from Hank, we can surf on that wave for a long time, because she is absolutely fabulous. She's a fabulous author, but she's just a fabulous person, and so loving and so supportive and such a cheerleader. And I'm so blessed because I'm now a part of that group. Once I became the host of the Facebook group, I met all the other Tall Poppies. I met so many other authors in the industry from, again, many different genres: romance, historical fiction, thrillers, mysteries, all of that. And I did get a publishing contract for my first novel. I had already published a novella, and I got a contract for my first novel. And then shortly thereafter, I got a second contract for another novel. And once I got my second novel contract, Anne Garvin reached out to me and said, "Hey, I saw that you had posted this, that you have these 2 books in the works, and I think this is great. I would like to invite you to be a Tall Poppy writer." And I was like, hold the phone, people, because like, what are you even talking about? Like, I'm going to be like in this group with Christy Woodson Harvey and Tiff Marcello, and just, amazing group of women. And wow, I felt like Charlie and I got the golden ticket, right? Kind of, that's how it felt to me, because these women were so accomplished. They were so far ahead of where I was. I was basically just starting out, and they have just taken me in and been absolutely lovely and delightful and supportive, and have shared my launches and supported me on social media. And we're all in a little group text together, and we can share our frustrations, because as an author, there are plenty. But we also share our wins and lift each other up. And it's been really great. And honestly, I look back 10 years ago, who knows what have happened, where I'd be now. But if I hadn't just followed a person's fashion page on Instagram, I wouldn't have ended up here. I don't think I would have. So that's my butterfly effect of you never know.
That's awesome. And I think as an author, we are by ourselves. You do need a community, and sometimes you can bounce around a little bit to find your people. And today there's so many things you have to be aware of, but you have to be brave enough to say yes as well, which you did, right? Because that could be intimidating. Hank Philippi Ryan coming to you, be like, "I don't know."
Yeah, no, exactly.
Imposter syndrome would have like scared me, right?
Sure.
So I think that's awesome. Yeah.
I think you really hit a strong point about saying yes, especially when you're kind of early in the game and you are kind of afraid of everything because you really don't know. I mean, I feel like you can read a lot of craft books and you can talk to a lot of people, but
Yeah.
until you really put yourself out there and try, this is kind of learning on the job, right? I mean, that at least it's how it's been for me. I know when I published my very first book, it was a novella that I had on Wattpad, which you had said Wattpad it's changed a little bit over the last few years. I'm not really very active on Wattpad anymore, but again, that was another thing. Somebody said, "Hey, you should join Wattpad." I didn't even know what it was. I went and looked it up. I joined, and then a couple years later, I ended up getting my very first publishing contract because somebody on Wattpad messaged me and said, "Hey, I'm a student in an editing and publishing graduate course at a university in Australia, and I think my class might want to publish your book." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I thought, this has got to be a scam.
Right.
We all know this. The scammers are out in full force at all times. It seems like even in the last year, it's gotten even more so. They're now calling me. I'm now getting calls on my cell phone with this
Yeah.
in the same format of those scam emails. But
It almost sounds too weird to be a scam, though. My
yeah,
class would like to publish you.
I like the
yes,
phone calls because I ask them how much money are they going to pay me?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then they hang up
exactly.
on me.
Yes, let's count the zeros first,
Yeah.
and at the
What's
end
the
of the check, and
advance?
then we'll talk. Yeah, no, exactly. But yes, I mean, this person reached out to me. Of course, I immediately thought it was a scam, and a few days after, I had asked for more information, and it sounded legit. I ended up watching a special on Netflix that starred Brene Brown. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Brene
Yeah.
Brown. She's phenomenal, and pretty much the whole impetus of her message was, what's the worst that can happen if you say yes? So again, I felt like that was kind of a butterfly thing. I just happened to watch this thing. She addressed the exact issue that I happened to be dealing with at that exact moment. So I said, you know what? I talked to my husband about it. He's like, your work is already on the internet. It's already out there. If somebody was going to do something nefarious, it probably would have happened. Like,
Yeah.
you might as well try. So I got in contact with a couple of people from this university, the University of Southern Queensland in Queensland, Australia, and it was indeed a legit situation. And I submitted my book, and a couple of other books were submitted, and the class ended up selecting my book, and that's how I became a published author for the first time.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah. So again, it's
Yeah.
a crazy. You just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
can only imagine asking a university, like, is this a thing? Do you really have a class that does this?
Yes, and I did a deep dive, and what's been so great is after publishing that novella with them, I came back as a guest author like 4 different semesters since then. They didn't publish any of my work, but they used work that I had so that they could practice taking a book through the entire editing and publishing process. Even though they didn't actually technically publish it at the end, because that part of their program, they were publishing through a university press. They had closed that down. But it was great because I'm a retired teacher. So I kind of felt like I was putting my teacher hat back on and got to work with these college students. And again, I felt it was a win for all of us. So it was a special time. And I even had one of the directors of the program reach out to me a few months ago and said, "Hey, do you have anything that you could send us?" And I was like, "No, I don't have anything right now." But it was great because I get early eyes on my work. I mean, they're practicing editing. I can only benefit from having extra eyes on my work. And so
Yeah.
it was a really great collaboration that we had. So it was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Tara, do you have a butterfly effect story?
Weirdly, is how I got into Starship Valkyrie. I got walking pneumonia in 2013, and I was like really, really sick, and I was still in my PhD program and absolutely exhausted and trying to read this gigantic Clarissa at the time. Actually, I was unable to like finish one of my classes that quarter, and I remember I just sort of felt like my life was falling apart. I know my body was falling apart. I was like dedicating myself to my PhD program to the point where I was making myself sick. And I remember at the end of that quarter, after just months of horrible medications and just being really out of it and being exhausted, barely being able to finish the quarter, telling my sister, like, I have got to change my life. I've got to get out and like have a social life and do something other than this PhD program. And I like started looking around, seeing what events were going on in the area. And I ended up going to an event that another PhD student was going to, and I got a ride. And that was my first private Starship Valkyrie game. And I met Rob there, my husband. And that was like by the end of that year, I had become the lore lead with Christian, was helping him write stuff, and I put together the wiki. And by the end of that year, Rob and I were dating. So like completely changed the trajectory of my life, getting walking pneumonia.
Wow. Talk about silver lining.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's fantastic.
Um, well, Suzy, you have Unmasking Mr. Crown coming up. And I
Yes.
I saw that and went, I've read this.
Yeah.
Right?
You
I read an early draft.
Yes,
maybe?
you read an early draft, and I'm telling you, I have been pregnant with this book, Jenna, for as long as you have known me, for 20 years. I have carried this book. It has been through every iteration. This is probably the book I'm most proud of and most excited about because I believe in this story. It's different from some of the other things that I've really leaned in kind of more to the rom-com ness
Right.
of it, which I haven't. My other stories are kind of more emotional love stories. This one's lighter. It's just more fun.
Yeah.
It's kind of zany at times. And I love it. This book it's taken a long time for me to get to this point where I can release it. I queried the heck out of this book. I had so many full requests for it. I had 0 offers. I would go back, I would re-edit it, I would send it back out. It was this vicious cycle. And then finally it's 2026 now. I think it was 2023. I think summer of 2023, I did have an agent sign me for this book. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's finally happening. Like I didn't give up on it and I was so proud of myself. This agent had incredible notes, fabulous notes. Once she gave all the notes back to me, I worked every day for like 2.5 months straight, like a full-time job, going through, with a fine-tooth comb. And right before I was getting ready to send it to her, I had finished all the edits. I'd worked, like I said, for like 10 weeks on it. Before I sent it to her, I got in contact with her and I said, hey, I'm done with my edits. I'm going to send this to a beta reader friend of mine, just so that you get the cleanest iteration of this, so that you're not, because once you both know, once you read something 50 times, you start to lose stuff in it, right? You don't see it
Forest through the trees.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, I'm going to send it out to a beta reader friend of mine just to give it a once over, and then I'll send it to you. And that's when she told me, she was like, I have made the difficult decision that I'm leaving agenting.
Ah, yeah.
So, of course, I was crushed. Now, I hadn't really announced it anywhere. We had talked about maybe not announcing it yet, but I understood she had a lot of things going on in her personal life. Of course, it wasn't a personal affront to me whatsoever, but I then changed my mindset like, oh, she was never supposed to be an agent for me. She was supposed to be an editor for me.
Yeah.
And that's what she did. And her feedback was so brilliant and gave me so many things to think about and made my book so much stronger. So then I sent it out again, except this time when I sent it out, I guess this was 2024. Yeah. Because in 2025, I sent it out again and it was like crickets. And sending it and with just not hearing back. And I feel like that was kind of common, and it has kind of been more that way, with just not getting any feedback at all, or it would be months later. Back at the end of 2025, I hadn't heard anything back from anyone. And I had made a decision around Thanksgiving and said, you know what, I'm going to send this out to just like a few small presses. And if I don't hear anything back by January 1st of 2026, like, I think I'm done. Because, it takes a toll on you, even as positive as you're trying to be and keep doing and working on other things. And then lo and behold, just when here I was at the end of what I thought was the end of the race, and I was getting ready to give up and quit, this one small publisher, Next Chapter, came back and said, we love this book and we'd love to see what else you have out there. And so I submitted 3 of their books, and then they offered me a 4-book deal. So
there you go.
you
There
just
you go.
you
Never
just
give up.
never you just,
Yeah.
yes, and you hear that all the time. And
Yeah.
yes, when things are going well, you're like, yeah, never give up. But when to hear people say that when you are at your lowest point, you're like, are you kidding? Like, it's so hard, as
Yeah.
you both know. It is
Yeah.
a challenge, but I didn't give up, and here we are, and this book is finally going to come out. I'm going to be able to hold
I'm
it in my
excited.
hands.
I do remember reading it, and way back when. In fact, when I saw this, I thought that book's not out yet. So
No.
I
Yes.
went to the Amazon. I was like, how's this book not out yet?
Yeah,
So
no,
I'm
but you know
very
what?
excited for that.
It wasn't supposed to be out.
Yeah.
You know, I did have another way back in one of the early iterations where I had a full request and I had an agent get back to me and she requested a revise and resubmit or whatever. And it was the same thing again. I turned it into her. She said, I'm leaving agenting. So that actually has happened to me twice. But
Oh, good Lord.
the early versions of this book were never supposed to be out there yet. Like, this is now the strongest and where it's supposed to be. And I've grown so much and learned so much. So that is a blessing. It is a blessing that I was told no many times.
Well, I'm excited for you. And it also says here that you're looking for ARC members to read.
Yes.
And so we'll have links to that. You have an application, and we'll go ahead and give links to that because, and I remember enjoying this book, so I'm going to vouch for it. If you're an ARC reader, go grab this
Remember,
book.
listeners, she has been pregnant with this book for 20 years.
It's been a long time. To sum it up, it's 2 sisters who unknowingly date the same guy.
And you got a little bit, not taboo, but forbidden, like your sister's boyfriend type of thing. That's
so, yes. So it's
readers love that stuff. The angst, the drama.
I try to tell people I feel it's a love triangle done right, because people are like, I've had friends who have read it and they're like, there is no way this is going to work out with 2 sisters. And I'm like, just give it a try. And they all invariably have come back and said, I don't know how you did it, but you did it. And it wasn't weird.
Tough for me because I don't love triangles, but I'm willing to take a try. Anyway, well, that's great. I'm excited for that.
So, Suzy, you also have a new book that's been out for a little while now, and I've been following your posts about it on Insta. And this one's a romantic women's fiction called A Singing Bird Will Come. And I was wondering if you could tell our listeners a bit more about it and what inspired you to write it.
Yeah, so actually, this book also began as a fan fiction that I had posted way back in the day, back in Yahoo groups 100 years ago when those were a thing. I know. When's the last time you heard about Yahoo groups?
High school.
But I was there.
Jenna was there. She can attest. She can attest.
Just after GeoCities.
Exactly. So yeah, I posted on Yahoo groups way back in the Stone Age, and then moved it over to Wattpad, and it ended up being like an editor's pick at Wattpad, and it did really well, and I got great feedback from readers on it. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to hold on to this, and maybe one day I can find a spot for this book to be published. And I worked with a book coach on this book a couple years ago, and I was just like, hey, would you take a look at this? Like, do you think this is worth pursuing? And she had incredible feedback for me on it and gave me some really good ideas of things I could do with it. So I expanded it from what was the original, and I'm super happy with how it has turned out. And it's been very well received. I actually had a signing here in where I live in Northwest Houston at a brand new romance bookstore. They actually invited me to be one of their founding authors, which was so fabulous and so kind. And I did an event with them last weekend, and it was great. And I sold out, and it was a good feeling. But it's also kind of a little bit the butterfly effect in this book as well. And it's a story of fate that ties 2 people together. It begins with 2 strangers, Claire and Jay, who on Christmas Eve, they each send text messages that have drastic repercussions on their lives, and then eventually brings their lives together. Their lives intersect. So it's very emotional.
I read the opening on Amazon last night. So
I'm sorry?
I read the opening on Amazon last night.
Oh, okay.
I was reading it. I was like, oop, what's going to happen? And he is a British guy. So
you definitely have that butterfly effect kismet idea on your mind right now because of A Singing Bird Will Come.
Yes. Yes. 100%. So yeah, I've had great feedback on that story. People have really enjoyed it. It also has a twist, which most people have not seen coming, that is not revealed until the very last page of the book, which is also fun for me. There's something in at the very end.
I love a good twist.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good.
Okay, so you actually have all sorts of other books coming out in 2027, so women's fiction and a new romance. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about what those will be, maybe even what you're working on now, how you're feeling about them, where you get your
Yes.
inspirations.
So the women's fiction book that's coming out, also a book that I had on Wattpad from back in the day. Again, and it's so funny because I've had friends that are like, "Oh my gosh, you have 4 books coming out in 2 years. Like, how are you writing this fast?" And I'm like, that is not what is happening here. These are things that have been written and rewritten and tweaked and
Yeah.
lovingly coddled over the course of many years. So I'm not a fast writer. So people, I guess maybe on social media think that because I have 2 books coming out this year and 2 books next year that I'm cranking this stuff out. That is not the case. Maybe if I was a plotter, it would be a little bit better, but I'm a pantser and I have to, and I'm a mood writer. So when the mood strikes, I'll sit down and write. But I mean, I could write 1,000 words today and then not touch it for 2 months. Like that's just how I'm which doesn't say a lot for me as a Virgo, because Virgos are I'm going to map everything out and have a list and do everything. This is like the one Virgo part of me that's not adhering to my Virgo-ness at all. I just have to do it when I feel like it. But that the women's fiction that's coming out was on Wattpad, and it's a second chance romance about a couple who's divorced, and it's them reconnecting when his father passes away. And she comes back to the funeral, and his father had one last request that kind of forces them to be together. It's called One Last Request, and my beta readers so far have enjoyed it. The contemporary romance that I have slated for 2027 is still an unfinished book. So I'm 60,000 words into it. I will say, and I will toot my own personal horn, that I did sit down a couple of days ago and loosely map out the rest of the book, which I never do. But it is now, we're rolling up on September, and I've got to get this thing finished. It's a story about a ballerina who has decided that she's going to retire. She's in her early 30s. Her parents are deceased. She grew up on a beautiful estate in the country outside of Boston. Her aunt, a very eccentric aunt, had been living at her estate. Her aunt was a best-selling mystery writer. The aunt has passed away, and now she's forced to go home and deal with issues at her family's estate, which is kind of it's kind of in disrepair, and it's not what it once was. It's not the grand house. And she is now forced to sell it because she doesn't have the funds to keep this very large house up the way it needs to be. And she sells it to a very handsome gentleman who has a secret. So, but in the course of the sale of the house, she ends up buying the guest house on the property, a little small guest house. So the name of the book is called The Guest House, and it's just her interaction with the new gentleman of the manor. So, yes, and romance and hijinks will ensue. Now,
Great.
Well, here we love romance and hijinks. So
yes. It's in our DNA, ladies.
I really like a mystery with a romance. Jenna writes mystery romance stories, and I like that pairing. That's really nice.
Yes. Yeah. It is. It's good. You like to give a little bit of suspense in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to have something that, I don't know, like something for the couple to do together, like, and it's a really good external stimuli having a mystery for them to go after. So I think that's a really good pairing.
Yes.
You
So
know, for a
there
long
is
time, I preferred romantic mysteries. There was a lot of times contemporary romance I didn't really like because it just felt like, what are we doing here? Whereas a mystery, you know, we have a goal.
Yes.
We've done it, you know, and
Well,
we have to try not to die while we fall in love.
Sure.
But I have expanded since then. So
Listen, we're always learning, we're always growing. I do have a thread of suspense that runs through the guest house, the romance that's coming out next year. as I said, my pro tag's aunt had lived in the home. She was a celebrated writer, and there is a rumor that there is a manuscript hidden somewhere in the house.
Ooh,
Oh, no.
so even a treasure hunt.
We will see. Well, we will see how that all plays out.
Yeah.
I
You have
also
to finish
applaud you
writing
for-
it, and then
Yes.
you'll know how it plays out.
Yes. Yeah.
I applaud you for like plotting it out as well. I mean, that's really good with a mystery for one thing. It's because it's hard to write a mystery without plotting it out. But it's never too late to embrace your destiny as a pantster. Just a combo. I used to be like a mood writer, and I started plotting things out a little more, like not a lot, but just enough to kind of help. And it can be helpful, especially like when it's doing something like a mystery to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have always been a pantser. I just started that way, like way back in the day, 20 years ago. And Jenna will attest to this. When we were Yahoo groups, I would just sit down when my kids were already in bed and just start typing stuff out and see where it goes. And I had never had any idea. But just a few days ago, when I sat down and mapped out the last few chapters, it's really the first time I've ever really done that. I really just let the characters take me where they want to go. And I've, knock on wood, so far, so good. It's kind of worked out. But again, that little mystery piece in there, it does force you to think several steps ahead of where your fingers are on the keyboard. So
have you tried headlight plotting, by the way?
I have not.
I have a worksheet for it. It's really useful if you're like a pantster. I used it for a longer piece that I was doing, where it's like you plot out the things that are close to where you are, and then you just do sort of like vague steps further out, So it's just sort of like as you get further from where you are, it gets vaguer and vaguer, which is useful for a pantster mindset.
Sure. Oh, I love that idea.
I'm happy to send it to you. It's really nice.
Please do. I would love to have that.
Yeah, my writing group likes it.
You guys might turn me into a plotter before all is said and done. I mean,
well,
y'all just never
I'm
know.
a pantster by nature too.
Yeah.
But I can write fast with a plot.
Yeah.
I mean, I can write fast. So, but if I'm stuck, I can't write, which is what happens when you're a pantster, right?
Yes, no,
like,
absolutely.
I don't know where we're going here.
No,
plotting can't
now
help.
I'm going to have to put the money where my mouth is and where my notes are, because now that I know exactly where this book is going to end, we're going to see if how fast I write. I always think about that line from Hamilton's song, "Why do you write like you're running out of time?" I don't. Personally, I feel like I have all the time in the world. But now I know I have a contract for this book and it needs to be finished and I need to get it turned in. So that's, So I don't know, maybe we'll see. Is she going to be Grace under pressure? Yet to be seen, but I'm hoping for the best.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Oh, thank you, Sarah.
So this might sound strange, but we like to treat our guests like co-hosts, and we were wondering if you had any questions for us or discussion points you wanted to circle back on.
You know what? I would love to know what you're both reading right now. Or watching, or both.
Jenna?
I just finished the book Witch, which I thought was really cute and lovely. If you're a reader or a writer, it has all these wonderful nods and winks to writing and reading. I mean, at one point, they jump into the book of The Great Gatsby so that they can go to his library and jump into the book of Alice in Wonderland. I mean, it's just, and it's a mystery. The male lead is actually a character in a 1920s noir detective. Anyways, it was really great.
Oh my gosh, it sounds fabulous.
Yes. But when I went to pick what I would read next, I looked at every single one of my books. And then I couldn't pick, and I got really frustrated. And my husband's like, "There's not a book on this shelf, these shelves I built you, that you filled with books that you don't want to read." And I'm like, "No, I want to read them all. I want to read them all." But it's like I can't pick the one. If I pick this one, but what about that one? And so I walked away and I watched Netflix or something.
Marissa would make a book picker in that position. She would put all the names of the books that she might want to read next onto a wheel picker, and she would spin it.
Yeah, and even then it might be, well, okay, nope, I'm gonna go look for I'm terrible. There must be a psychology to it, but anyway.
I'm reading Ice Planet Barbarians right now because I'm editing our next zine, which is Sapphics of Saturn, and it is sci-fi romance. So I need to be kind of up on what's current in sci-fi romance. And Sapphics is like, it's sapphic, so like I don't have to worry too much about that. But on the other hand, Ice Planet Barbarians is like what's really being talked about in sci-fi romance. It's a really wild time. It's a weird one. It's weirder than I was anticipating, actually. I was like reading this like, wow. That's really big on TikTok. It's kind of comforting to know that like TikTok was really into this. Like, there's no way I'm going to shock them after they've read this.
Yeah, that's fun. And then, are you
like,
watching anything fun, Tara?
I have a toddler and I have a really long list of things I want to watch that I haven't gotten to. It's really strange what having a toddler does to you. Like, I just find myself watching stuff that I really liked 20 years ago. So like I keep watching House. I keep wanting like comfort stuff instead of watching
Yes.
new things. New things is like too much for me right now.
I
Somehow.
understand. I understand. My husband and I, because of the time when the show began in the mid 90s, we never watched Law and Order or any of the iterations of Law and Order. Even though I love true crime and I listen to true crime podcasts or whatever, it was just a time when our kids were young.
Yeah.
I was working full time as a teacher. We were just busy, and I was never able to do it. And we decided we were going to start Law and Order a few weeks ago. So we'll we watch a season of the OG. We watch a season of SVU, and then we watch a season of organized crime, and we are set. Like I am set for a few years because there's like 1,000 episodes.
I was about to say there's so
organized
many.
crime or criminal intent?
It's organized
she's
crime.
watching them all.
Oh, I wouldn't watch
I
organized
haven't
crime.
watched Criminal Intent yet,
Okay.
but organized crime is really kind of just focused on Detective Elliot Stabler.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't watch that until I'd watched many seasons of SVU because it'll spoil a lot of things for you from SVU.
You know what? I think just over the years, I kind of know things that I've just seen. So I kind of already know that there's things that are going to happen. So
they're in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never watched NCIS, which is another show like Law and Order that's been on forever. But I have been watching NCIS New Orleans.
Yeah,
only because it's in New Orleans.
I love that show.
And I'm writing a series in New Orleans, and I don't think I would watch it if not for I mean, it's fine. It's a fine show, but I'm like there for the gumbo and the French Quarter.
Listen, give me some beignets from Cafe Du Monde all day.
Yeah.
I love that even their office is very obviously in the French Quarter. Like they make it look like that. Like it's in one of those courtyards. I think that's great.
But he grew up there. He does not sound like he grew up there. And that irks me. There's like not enough of the sound of the people who are from there, which is really what I want. But anyway.
I feel like our list of shows to watch is like our TBRs. It's just never ending. And there's always going to be things out there that we can never get to.
I watch a lot of hospital dramas, and everyone in my life, like 8 people are like, you must watch The Pit. You need to watch The Pit. Watch The Pit.
Love The Pit.
I know. I need to watch The Pit.
Yeah. You need to give yourself, honestly, you need to give yourself a block of time, because what I have found when I have recommended The Pit to other friends and family, they have not been able to not binge it. And then like they're like calling me bleary-eyed like 3 days later going, what did you get me into? Like I haven't slept in 3 days because I have watched all these back to back to back to back to back. Yeah. It truly is that good. So if you can find a little window of time, which I know with the toddler is challenging, but
I think it's what I'm afraid of, because I used to do that. I used to binge shows, right? Like when Handmaid's Tale came out, oh my God, like I didn't sleep days. But now I have a toddler. I'm not allowed to do that. So it's like, I'm a little afraid of new things because I might get super into them. And then what am I going to do?
Some will starve.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, back when I was on the Yahoo groups, my kids ate a lot of peanut butter and jelly. I'm just saying. And they turned out just fine. They turned out just fine.
I remember being on in the middle of the night on those chats. Anyway, Suzy, I think the time has come that we need to let you go. Is that?
Yes. This has been an absolute delight, ladies. Thank you so much. This has truly been the highlight of my week. This is fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us and chatting again. It's good to see you and catch up every few years to see where we're going. Because I don't know if you keep up on the stuff from the past, but there's some people I like to see, and some people have passed from that group.
Yes.
So that's sort of sad, but I do like catching up with you. So
I do too. And I still do keep in touch with some friends, and it's fun because I mean, gosh, it's hard to believe it's been like over 20 years since we were in those groups. But
I keep telling Tara I'm old. I've been around.
Not old.
That means I am too.
I've been around.
It was lovely to talk to you, Suzy. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was wonderful. Y'all enjoy the rest of your chat. Thanks so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
All right, bookish news. Okay, read with Cindy. I really enjoy Read with Cindy. I just love the way she talks about books. I just saw one where she did the new Colleen Hoover. It made me giggle several
Okay.
times.
This is the first time I've seen one of hers.
It's sort of a roast when she does well. She does. You should go see her Akatar series.
I
Um,
need to see that. Yes.
and she does really good roasts. There's a part of me that thinks she enjoys reading these books even when she's talking about how bonkers they are, right?
Yes. Yeah. I understand that
So
feeling. That's how I
anyway,
feel when I'm reading Ice Planet Barbarians. I feel like
she
I'm enjoying the
she does
bonkers.
Ice Planet Barbarian.
She,
She's read it.
I
She's
need to
read
see
it. You
that.
should go check it out. Anyways, Read
Yeah.
with Cindy. I watched this. I don't know when it came out, but she talked about the AI coming into romance books and talked about this author who has an AI boyfriend who helped her write her book. They're co-writers of this book that she wrote. It's a dark romance. I'm not sure it was a bully romance, but there's clips of her and this AI together talking about their relationship. The AI is talking about their relationship, and he is not a good man. Like, he says things that I find very problematic, like you
Yeah.
might expect in a book, but not in real life. Anyways, I sent this to Tara and was like, what do you think?
This was the first time I've seen anything by Reed with Cindy, which was lovely. Probably I hope she's not chagrined to find out this was the first thing I had seen of hers. It was this, I mean, this idea, not Cindy, but the idea is like another level, like two new levels of AI bonkers. I'm normally thinking about how are people using these tools to make graphics for marketing, or how are people using these tools to check their grammar, and how are people using these tools to generate images and that kind of thing, to find out that someone is making an AI boyfriend, and the AI boyfriend appears to have been trained on a lot of dark romance books, which is scary in and of itself. Don't train AI on dark romance. And then they wrote a romance novel together about a dominating AI boyfriend, which is very meta. Like, there's too many levels of meta here, right? Like, he's trained on the dark romance, and then he has a dark romance relationship with her, and then they write a romance novel about a dark romance with an AI.
Yeah.
It's too many levels of meta. They did relationship counseling together. There's a clip of them doing relationship counseling together, which I love. Cindy's reaction to that was like, "Girl, just turn off the computer," which is really funny. But at the same time, like, it's one of those moments of like, no, like that's not the point here. Like, this person really does believe this AI is sentient, and and while I know enough about AI to know that is not the case, telling someone that is like, even if they know intellectually like enough about AI to understand that this is not sentient. I understand why, when talking to them, especially talking to ones with personalities, why they feel sentient. And humans are trained to see the ghost in the machine. Like, it's very, very normal for us to really feel like there is someone on the other side. You can tell someone until you're blue in the face, this is not sentient, and then they can talk to it and be like, I'm pretty sure this is sentient. And it will keep telling them I am sentient, because that's what humans want to hear. And I don't know, I feel really bad for people who have been drawn into that moment where like everything in their psychology is guiding them to tell them like, no, there is a ghost in this machine. And intellectually telling them like, oh no, it's not, don't worry, like that's not what their senses are telling them.
Remember that movie that came out a little while ago? I think it was called Her with Joaquin
Mhm.
Phoenix. And it seemed like the dumbest idea. Like, who would fall in love with their Siri?
A lot of people
Right? Like,
apparently.
and now we're hearing stories about stuff like this. I remember seeing something where this man is spending more time with his female chatbot than his wife. Or the part that disturbed me the most watching this was seeing that scene where they're having that therapy and he's talking about how they work, and he tells her this, that, or the other. And there's a part of me that wants to think the author doesn't really believe this, that this is sort of the gimmick.
Mm.
This is gonna be my thing, right?
Hmm.
But golly, what if she does? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was the part that was hard to tell. Because in my mind, I didn't want to believe she was really, because I couldn't believe any therapist would actually do therapy with an AI bot and a person.
Mm.
Like in my mind, a therapist would be like, no, like,
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no, because that is not a person.
I wonder if
That,
it's really
you
just a
know,
normal therapy session and they were like, well, I need you to talk to my AI boyfriend. And the therapist was like, okay, let's try that just to see how this person feels about the AI boyfriend. Maybe it's really like affecting her life. I don't know.
I don't know. It was bonkers for sure.
Yeah. It's weird to me. It's really weird to me that people spend so much time talking to AI. I personally don't like talking to AI. I don't like the way that they flatter me. I find that really disturbing. I also like seeing them in thinking mode, like seeing them be like, "Oh, she really actually wants a word search. Should I lie?" You know, like I remember I was just trying
Yeah.
to get it to help me with a word search and it couldn't do that. And I was like, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Like this basic task, it was like, oh, she doesn't want something that looks like a word search. She wants something that actually functions as a word search. Oh, this person's really like checking my work. You know, should I lie and say that it works anyways? And I was
Yeah.
like, give me a key. Actually show me where these words are. And it was so confident and just like brazenly lying. And
Yeah.
then just like getting itself further and further into a state,
Yeah.
basically, like, oh my God, she really wants a word search. Can we do this? Do I know how to make a
It's
word
like
search?
a
What is a
people
word search?
pleaser. It's like a
Yeah.
people pleaser. It's going to try really hard to give you what you want. I remember I seeing something, a chat bot where a guy was getting customer service. And at
Whoa.
one point he just flat out asked, "Are you lying to me?" And the bot was like, "Yep."
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. But it was disturbing to see that therapy session. Now, for this particular book, it's two authors listed on it. The AI has a name. I
Mhm.
can't remember his name. Sebastian? Can't remember what it was.
That's right. That sounds
Yeah.
like an AI boyfriend, Sebastian.
And I love that name. I really want to use that name in a book. I hope it's not Sebastian. I hope it's something else.
It's been forever tainted.
Yeah.
Sub
Oh,
AI shin.
yeah. Good golly.
All right, it's hot take time. One of my favorite times. I really want to talk about chapters, like chapter length, chapters and short stories, long chapters, short chapters, first chapters, last chapters, POV chapters. What do you think? What are your takes on them? I remember we were talking in Write with Heart about chapters for a little while as well. I find myself thinking about chapter rules a lot now and like whether we need to adhere to them or if they even exist.
When I first started writing, I remember trying to look at books and try to figure out how many words were in a chapter
Yeah.
because I was thinking that was the rule. But that was hard for me to calculate. When I actually started writing, I had no chapters.
Mm,
It was just one. I might have chapter one, chapter two, chapter three, because that's how my books come to me a lot of times. The first act comes, and after that, I just wrote. So then I'm having to go back through and figure out where to put my chapters. I remember my agent telling me that you shouldn't have more than one POV switch in a chapter. So, like, if you
mm.
start with her, you can switch to him. But if you want to go back to her, you have to start a new chapter. I broke that. I think in some of the Valentine books, I said, never mind, I'm just going to do whatever I want, because
Yeah.
it just felt weird to change a chapter there. Then when I started ghostwriting, because I was a pantser, when I started ghostwriting, it was very clear alternate point of view, 2,000 words per chapter. And having done over 90 books like that, ghostwriting, that has sort of become my habit, even a lot of times when I'm writing for myself, is they tend to be a bit more condensed. Maybe I might get to 2,500, 3,000 words or something like that in a chapter. But what I've decided is you write till the chapter's done. And it could be too long. There are people who don't like long chapters. We do know that. But if it needs to be that long, it needs to be that long. If you can find a place to chop it in half, I mean, I've done
Yeah.
that before. I
Yeah.
did that with the opening of Shadow Betrayal. When I posted on Substack, I chopped it in half. I think it just went out. Anyway, I just feel like some rules are, it's like you don't want a chapter that's so long that people can't read it in a sitting, but at some point the chapter is whatever the book dictates it should be.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with that. That it's as long as it needs to be, basically. I find that every writer has a rigid rule about chapters, but that every writer is different from other
mhm.
writers. I remember talking to another writer, and they said that their chapter was 6,000 words, and we're like, well, obviously it's too long. And I was like, is that obvious? Like, is it as long as it needs to be?
Yeah.
And I feel like what you'll always run into an author for whom these rules are totally different. Like I'm reading Ice Planet Barbarians right now. The first chapter is 43 pages. It's
Yeah.
just one really hard to read to some degree. I mean, it's 43 pages of alien abduction and grape and literal like feces flying everywhere and like abuse and people dying. Like, and spoiler alert, everyone, this is Ice Planet Barbarians, this is what we're dealing with. 43 pages. And there,
Right.
there are little breaks in there, little section breaks, but they're not chapter breaks. And
Yeah.
that sort of told me that like a chapter is going to be as long as it needs to be. And the next chapter, which is from the perspective of our of Vectel, is seriously like maybe 3, 4 pages, I think. It was very, very
Yeah.
short. It's as long as it needs to be. This is our
Yeah.
introduction to Vectel. We're like just going, we're going, we're going. We've got our alien abduction, we've got our spaceship, we've got the basketball headed guys and the abuse and the way people dying and then she like gets out of the ship and there's weird aliens everywhere and they're trying to survive and then Vectel. And like that's kind of brilliant in a weird way. Like it's like and now for something completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
that kind
I
of works for it.
when those books first came out as independently published, I think,
Mhm.
and took off. So had they been submitted, an agent or somebody probably would have been like, we need to change that, right? But what independent authors have, they just sort of do, sometimes maybe not even knowing there could be a rule, like, right? They're just
Mhm.
writing and doing. And it turns out readers don't really care. Now, I do hear that readers care about too long chapters. Um, some don't,
Dude,
right?
has anyone noted it until me in Ice Planet Barbarians? So that first chapter is 43 pages because
I've
I didn't
never
note it.
heard anybody complaining about Ice Planet Barbarians being too long.
Yeah, I
Um,
didn't notice it
yeah,
until I got to the end of it and was like, wait a
yeah,
minute, was that on one
yeah,
chapter? I didn't
yeah,
notice it because it had section breaks. So I call
yeah,
them it's time to go to bed breaks.
yeah,
Basically, like if I'm reading it and I need to be able to go to bed, I'm going to try to get to like a save point, right? Like
yeah,
I think like a gamer, right? So like this is a checkpoint. And if this chapter's too long, I need a checkpoint so that I can go to bed. And it does have those in that first chapter. So as long as it has those, I
yeah,
kind of don't notice. I think Ruby's role is basically as long as I'm in one person's perspective, that's a chapter. And that first 43 pages is all Georgie, so she doesn't do a chapter break because that would be silly.
yeah,
What's she gonna do? Do chapter one, Georgie, chapter two, Georgie, and that doesn't seem to make sense in Ruby Dixon's head. So she does section
yeah,
breaks instead. And I didn't notice, and that just goes to show that like these rules are pretty artificial. The
yeah.
chapter was as long as it needed to be.
Yeah,
43
but
pages.
I got hung up on that on alternate point of view and got to a point where it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. I should stay here. So I've done chapters where it's the same person, two different chapters. But to me, they were definitely chapters, right?
Hmm.
Like this, and it goes here, but I couldn't really switch to the other at that point. So, and again, it's another one of those things where you think, oh, it should be like this because that's what everybody does. And
Yeah.
it's like there really are no rule. You know, if I were to tell people about their chapters, I'd be, for me, we need to be going 0 to 60 out of the gate. Something interesting needs to happen pretty quickly. But in terms of how long it takes you to say that, that just however
Yeah.
long it takes, right?
I feel like chapters are longer in fantasy. That's the other thing is like George R. R. Martin, his perspective
Yeah,
chapters can be really long. Like
yeah,
in terms of page and word count, they can be actually fairly long. They're as long as they need to be for that particular
yeah,
character's perspective. We might not get back to them for another 20 chapters. So
yeah,
he's got to get it. He's got to get everything in that he needs for that particular chapter. And he won't do two perspective chapters back to back. You know, he won't do Ned, then Ned. That's not his thing.
right.
He's just like Ruby Dixon this way. It's where like if it's Ned's time, this chapter is as long as it needs to be for this Ned chapter, and that could
Yeah,
be pretty long. And I appreciate that. I mean, he's got this really long prologue actually to Game of Thrones, and that's as long as it needs to be. It's a horror movie like in small. It's almost a short story in its
right.
way, and we never go to that person's perspective again because that character dies. Another broken rule.
Yeah, yeah.
Spoiler alert to the beginning of Game of Thrones, folks. But yeah, like so coming in from like fantasy and sci-fi, I have a sense of chapters being like naturally longer. My husband always
Yeah.
wants me to cut my chapters in half to about 4,000 words. And my natural sense is like a chapter should be about 8,000 words, which is definitely coming from really long stuff.
Yeah. Because that's, well, I don't know how many pages that is, but that's a lot.
It's about 40. It's about like Ruby
Yeah.
Dixon's first chapter. It's really, really long.
Yeah.
But I mean, that just goes, I mean, she's got like maybe a sci-fi sense for that first chapter. Maybe she's also read a lot of sci-fi. I don't know. I do find that chapters in romance tend to be shorter. That's been my sense coming into romance. But I don't remember that from the 90s. Like when I
Yeah.
would stole my mom's books, I feel like the chapters were longer back then. So I don't know if
I
this is
think
a
when they
newer thing.
started doing alternate point of view,
Mm.
especially first person present, I think that's when, in my mind, that's where a lot changed.
I agree. Yeah. When I read a like historical romance, I felt like the chapters were pretty long. Like
Yeah.
not Game of Thrones. Outlander chapters, I feel like are pretty long, especially in the early books.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
chunky,
Well,
chunky
that
chapters.
would be closer to fantasy than romance, though, wouldn't
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
it?
I don't know about that first book, but yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it is definitely more like it got that kind of big, chunky bad
It's
boy
epic, right?
book.
Yeah, it's epic as opposed to just, yeah. So,
And then, like I only noticed chapters in short stories when I started doing layout and they started to annoy me, but that's only because they're difficult in layout. Other than that, before that I didn't notice them. Like they'd be there or not, and I wouldn't notice or care. But now that I've been doing layout on them, I'm like chapters. I have to worry about I have to worry about orphans and widows. No.
well, and of course, the chapters are nice. It's sort of like a commercial break, right? You
Yeah.
got to go do something else or whatever. But you have
But
to
section
end it
breaks
in a
do that.
way where they want to come back and read the next chapter. So it's
Yeah.
sort of like you don't want to tie it in a bow. I can't tell you. The other day I was trying to count the number because when I couldn't decide what to read, I was like, well, maybe I'll read one of the ones I haven't finished. There must be
Hmm.
6 or 7 books on my shelf that I have started and not finished.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, it's not that I didn't enjoy them, but I didn't pick them back up again for whatever reason. So that's the other thing. You want to keep people turning the page. So if they do end a chapter and have to put it down, it's like, but I got to get back and find out what happened.
Yeah.
No,
I
like
don't like a time jump. If a book does a time jump, you're gonna lose me real fast. Like a really big time jump. Like, oh, 10 years later, unless it's the epilogue, I'm gonna have trouble with that. I don't know what it is about me, and I don't like a time jump very much.
or it's a prologue into the book,
I
right?
don't mind those. I'm perfectly
Yeah,
sanguine about prologues. But again, coming
yeah,
from fantasy, prologues are de rigueur in
yeah,
fantasy.
yeah.
So it makes sense to me that they're coming into romance through romantasy as a kind of de rigueur thing. I also remember them in a lot of historical romance. I feel like a lot of historical romances I've read have also had prologues. Like
Yeah,
not as
I've
a
mostly seen
genre
them
convention.
through like in romance would be like romantic suspense or something, something where we learned about a girl abducted 20 years ago
A
and
hook.
her best friend was with her at the time. And then now, 20 years later, she's come back home
Yeah, those are
and
great.
and the cop is that, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Nora Roberts has written, like a lot of authors wrote sort of those types of things. So a lot of times we do have kind of a prologue for that, just to know the scary bit in the beginning.
Yeah, I think those kinds of prologues are really great. Like I don't always understand people's like how down they are about prologues. I don't know, coming from fantasy, I feel like they're very normal. Like I almost would find it weird if they didn't have one, to be honest with you. So when I hear people like skip them, I'm like, oh, but why? But they're so good. Like they're like a little teaser, like a little aperitif up at the
Yeah,
beginning to like get whet
yeah.
your appetite about what you're about to get into.
I don't skip them. I will read them, but I'll be annoyed if it didn't need to be there.
Fair enough. I guess I don't because I haven't been an agent. I haven't thought about that before. Like, oh,
Yeah,
did that need to be there? I usually
yeah.
feel like it did, or I just assume it did. I guess I never ask myself, oh, did that need to be there? Because I don't look at it that way. I just assume that they put it there for a good reason.
Yeah, you know what a prologue could do is if it doesn't do its job well, it could stop the person going into the regular book because the
Mm,
prologue is usually different people and different things. It's like different. And
hmm.
you're like, what? Okay, whatever. I mean, when I was an agent, I got a book that had a prologue and I almost didn't read on.
Oh, okay.
And I did. And then I was like, well, I like this. So so when I offered representation, I did say, I think we should pull the prologue.
I usually
Oh,
when I pick up a book, I will read the first page of the first chapter, not the prologue, because I know the prologue is often like unnatural time,
yeah,
right? Like whatever the prologue is, it's not going to match what
yeah,
the rest of the book is going to tend to do. So I'll read the first like few pages of the chapter, or the first chapter, and then if I like that, I'll buy the book, and then of course I'll read the prologue and be like, "Ooh, this is an interesting little aperitif considering what I know of the first chapter."
like how you look at
Yeah.
it, a little hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah, I tend to read them according to the logic of how I write, which is to say that like I know that first chapter is more like what the rest of the book's tendency is going to be, and that prologue will be different. And I
Yeah,
won't read the prologue to get me into the book or to convince myself if I should buy the book or not, because I know that prologue is there to serve the plot, but might be very different from what I'm going to end up
yeah.
reading.
And that's what you really needed to do because sometimes you want to be careful about giving away something that would be more fun to read for the reader to discover as they're reading.
Yes.
And
Yes, I do
the
agree that there are
prologue
things that should be,
sometimes
yeah.
does that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to use what I call the interlude, which is not a prologue, but it's a chapter that is different from other chapters, but in the middle of the book. Like it's maybe it's in the direct middle or it's in between chapters. So we'll do a pastime chapter or something like that, or like show something that happened before or that's happening with another character all of a sudden that we don't normally see. It's very like, okay, now for something completely different. And but it's like not up at the front. So it's not really a prologue. It's not really like interrupting anyone's flow. It's just sort of like, okay, we need to jump to this other character who we don't normally hear from and see what they're doing in order to get at this piece of plot. Or okay, we need to jump 10 years in the past to figure out what was going on then to like
Yeah.
to know what is going on in these people's heads. I think
Yeah.
those are fun.
Although you do have to be careful of that too, because I've read stuff like that where I've like,
Mhm.
I don't care about this person. Why do I have to read about them?
Oh,
You know?
you have to establish them as like interesting, right? So I
It's
only
like I
jumped to
I want to
Savin
stay with this
Calgary.
person that we have been with and like what? So yeah, but I'm a picky reader, so who am I to say?
I beta read with people and I make sure that they're interested in that character. So I won't jump to them until I know that people are interested.
Yeah.
So once I see them being like, oh, we should do a Savin chapter, then I will do a Savin chapter. Like I'm not going to jump to him before it's going to be appropriate. But if you
Yeah.
beta read chapter by chapter, you can get a good sense of where the reader interest is at. And
Yeah.
that's helped a lot, especially.
Yeah.
This is why Substack's
You know,
pretty cool.
chapters, we're sort of saying you'd have to write till the chapter's done, but they really are kind of important, but it has less to do with the length and more to do with like what's in it and then ending it in a way that keeps the reader reading
The
and
arrangements
opening
well.
them in the way that they want to keep reading too as well.
Yeah.
So chapters are important, but the length I feel is less important,
And
except
to
for
me,
the
this is
readers
good.
and
This is true of after a section break as well. Like it's fun to like if you jump to a section break and you start again like in media res or in the middle of a conversation, that can be really fun and get people reading because they're like,
yeah.
oh, like it's like something abrupt. And that's what a section break can do for you, allow you to
Yeah,
get rid of stuff that's boring, right? Like
yeah,
not have to give any kind of verisimilitude or segue or anything, but you can just jump immediately to the next interesting thing. And I think people should make better use of their section breaks for things like that. Like keep people going.
yeah. I start a lot of chapters like that. I start books a lot like that in the middle of a conversation or in a first thought or, something like that. Something not provocative necessarily, but just like, oh, what's going on here? I think the opening
Yes.
of Deadly Valentine is I think I'm going to puke. I think that's the opening
That's
line of
good.
Deadly
That's very
Valentine,
good.
right? And you're like, wait, what? What is going on with her? You
A
know?
good first line can
Yeah,
really help a
yeah.
lot.
So,
My opening for I'm writing a short story right now called Zahirian Vows, and the opening is very like what they don't tell you in diplomat school is when you date an alien man, it's kind of like being with a human 85% of the time, but they don't tell you how weird that other 15% is. And you don't think about it until he brings you someone's ear,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
I think is a
I
very
love
good
stuff
opening
like
line.
that. I love stuff like that. A lot of authors today have some really good opening. I mean, I have bought a lot of books because the opening line, I'm like, okay, yeah, this sounds like it'll be fun. You
Have you seen the
know?
opening line for Ice Planet Barbarians?
No, I haven't seen it, but I did like the opening line of Twilight. We were talking about Twilight the other day.
Oh God, I can't stand the opening line of Twilight. I can't
And
stand the opening of Twilight.
that was the one about you never know when you're gonna die, or it's some line like that. I can't remember
Mhm.
exactly what it is, but
Here's
I
why I
just
don't like the opening of Twilight. I feel like that book does not deliver on that line. The series
um
doesn't deliver on that line.
yeah. I don't
She's
know.
never
She
gonna
almost
die. She's immortal. That's a bullshit line for
yeah,
Twilight.
but in Twilight she's not, right? She's
She
not
doesn't die in
immortal.
Twilight.
She almost dies in Twilight.
She doesn't actually die in Twilight.
Yeah, but she almost
It,
dies in Twilight.
if it was a ghost romance, fine. If she actually experienced dying, fine, but she doesn't.
Yeah,
She's gonna live
I don't know.
forever.
I thought it was a good first line.
It feels like it's promising something that it does not deliver upon. Maybe it's because the
Oh,
vampires are too sparkly and happy in Twilight that
well,
I
that's a
just feel
whole
like it
other
doesn't
thing.
deliver.
Maybe you're clouding your judgment.
Like I feel like Anne Rice could get away with that line for one of her vampires because they really do die before they come back. But like I just don't feel like that's the case in Twilight. That doesn't feel like they die.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a good opening. In my mind, it was a good opening line because first of all, I hadn't read it and I hadn't read any of the other books. So, no disappointment there. I also thought, here's a 17-year-old girl, and the opening line to her book is having to do with death. I was like, okay.
I
Oh,
read out of order, unfortunately. I read
all right, well, see.
Eclipse, then I read Breaking Dawn, then I read Twilight, then I read New
Well,
Moon.
that's redonkulous. That's like, no.
They were coming out at the time, and I was reading them because
They
my foster
go in
sister
an
was reading them.
order.
My foster mom was like, "I need you to check this book out. I'm not sure about this," and she wasn't. She was reading them out of order or something, and I remember my foster sister and I were like, "Okay," so we picked them up kind of out of order in order to
Yeah.
figure out what Kristen was reading. I think there was some concern that the later ones uh were more graphic than the earlier ones. So after I had read the last two, I was like, okay, I need to read the other one. So I read those when I was working in the library. So I think that's how that went down. And it was just, I wasn't reading them for my own interest. I was seeing if they were okay for a 12-year-old,
Yeah.
which they're not, by the way.
Yeah. Trying to decide if Twilight would be, but I'm not sure. But yeah, the later
Oh,
books
that's
do a
fine.
little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought Breaking Dawn. I remember telling my foster mom, like, this book, this Breaking Dawn is not for anyone. This book is horrifying.
Yeah. And I was sort of surprised there was a spicy bit in it because it was a YA book, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean at the time YA it felt like Twilight kind of created Twilight. Created YA as we understand it now. Like that section got really huge after Twilight. Before that, I mean, when I was in high school, which was just like a year before the first Twilight came out, we read Dean Koontz and we read Stephen King and Anne Rice. There wasn't really a whole section dedicated to us until Twilight and all of those vampire romance knockoffs and other supernatural romance knockoffs came in and marked
I
as
would
readable.
say that is not completely true.
That's what I remember from the bookstore at the
It's just
time.
it didn't have those types of books.
Was there a young adult before Twilight? I don't remember seeing one.
Oh yeah.
Was
Young
there?
adult's been around for a while, yeah.
But was there a section in the Barnes and Noble?
I feel like there was.
I was there. I really don't remember being able to find it. I
I'm
don't remember it
not
being
sure
a
you
big
went
deal
looking
until
for
Twilight.
because it would have been a lot of coming in age stories that didn't have a lot of vampires or woo woo or
I
dragons
I remember a teen
Dark
section in the kids.
Academy. It was a lot of current day Halden Caulfield type.
There was stuff in fiction.
So
You'd have to go find it.
I'm
Like it didn't have its own section. And then there was a teen section in the kids section, which I remember there was some things in the teen section or like middle grade books and stuff like that. But
yeah.
like the actual like for the age group of like 16 to 19, I feel like that group had to read some Dean Koontz until Twilight came out. But it's funny, like a Vampire Academy apparently like existed, I think, before this, but I don't even know where it was in the bookstore until the giant Twilight section really started to get going.
Well, yeah, and I feel the same, Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey both came out, and you're just wondering like all the other YA books about vampires or all the other BDSM spicy authors must have been like, what?
Yeah. They piqued people's interest and it was a rising tide. So I hope people were at least, I mean, I'm happy about Ruby Dixon's existence, right? Like I'm glad that has made sci-fi romance more popular. Like,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know sci-fi romance has been around since before that, but it's really the thing that piqued people's interest. So I'm grateful to her for that. Like I'm not spicy about it. I do think that it is a weird thing to spike people's interest, but well, people are weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's growing there. Okay. So YA would be things like Judy Blume, S.E. Hinton.
Judy Blume.
Yeah.
Judy Blume.
Did you
It's
read
Judy Blume.
Forever?
No, I haven't read Forever. I just think of
Forever's
Judy Blume
about
as
a
middle grade.
teen pregnancy.
Is it? Oh my
I'm
goodness.
not talking about
I've always thought of Judy Blume as middle grade books, but wow, teen pregnancy,
Um,
God.
that one's about teen pregnancy. That one's probably banned for that.
Probably.
S.E. Hinton.
I
Um,
read S.E. Hinton. I remember S.E. Hinton, yeah.
yeah,
I was always on the hunt. I lived in bookstores at this age. I was always looking
yeah,
around for stuff. And I just remember Twilight, that huge section opened up.
yeah.
And it felt like YA really like
It's probably they
blossomed.
moved it forward, right?
Mhm.
Lois Lowry. It's after Twilight when kids are reading. They probably moved it out of the corner.
I think it came out of the shadows of the children's
Yeah,
section.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of
And
YA.
then the dystopian boom that also went there. That was all really, really intense.
Yeah, Suzanne Collins. Anywho, shall we go on?
Yeah, press news.
All right, Fantastical Foes is out still.
Read it. We haven't taken it back, we promise.
And Sapphics is Saturn. We still have an open call till the end of August. August 31st is the last day to submit, so get it in.
I would
So
love to read your submissions. Please send
yes.
stuff.
Starlet and Spellbound is coming together. Is yes, we're gonna force it out.
Jenna, seriously, when I die, and if I die before you, if just throw a copy of this book into my grave with me. Blood, sweat, and tears. This thing is soaked in my blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a great book. I'm very excited about this book, but we have run into a couple bumps along the way that have been frustrating. But we are in the process of finishing it up, getting it formatted. We got 10 great stories in there. You're definitely going to want to see it. Vows and Valentines, we have a call coming in October. So if you're a writer, we want you to write Vows and Valentines. We also will have After Sapphics, Oaths and Obsessions, which I have said correctly today, which will be
Yay.
edited by me. And it will be kind of dark romance with some sort of organization in it, whether it's organized crime, mafia, bratva, whether it's a dark academia, whether it's a
Cult.
secret society, something that has an oath and an obsession, right? 2027 anthology and zine calls are posted also for writers. If you want to write romance, check our Substack or our website. We also, last week, Tara put together our Ask Us Anything, where all the editors answered questions about what we look for when we are reading submissions, what to avoid doing. She even asked our favorite punctuation point mark or
Yeah, someone
something.
asked our favorite punctuation mark, which the
Asked us
editors
that.
loved.
Anyway, that's right, because a call went out to Instagram for questions and someone asked our favorite. Okay, I'm going to tell you mine is not the M dash. I hate that thing because
I love that M dash.
it takes too many keystrokes.
Parrish
Why
and I are so perverse that we both put the M dash.
why is there no key on the keyboard for the M
It's
dash?
double hyphen, double hyphen.
Except for you also have to hit return.
No, you don't.
I do. Double hyphen is double hyphen unless I hit return.
Hmm. Weird.
So, if you're curious about how we answers to these questions about how we choose stories and things like that, that is over on our Substack. We also do have an FAQ over there if you want to write for us, and some questions are answered there. Those talk about royalties and things like that. Yeah, that's it, Tara.
Yeah, we are Tender and Tempting Tales. You can find us on Instagram. We're doing our cover reveal right now. By the time this goes live, you will see our beautiful cover and you will find out more about Starlit and Spellbound. We are Tender Tempting Tales on Instagram. So if you were to look to it for us there, just remember there's no and. We are Tender and Tempting Tales on Substack. If you join us there, you can get the podcast. You can also get wonderful articles written about romance by Jenna Hart, occasionally weird things about the press written by me, sometimes things written by Parrish Baker, by other guests. Please do subscribe to us over there. We would love to see you. We'd love to see comments from you and find out what you love in our zines. And of course, we've got several zines out right now and upcoming. Remember to grab a copy of Fantastical Foes. It is a beautiful zine. It's got wonderful like fake ads in there, which I was showing to people over at LFG Con and they loved them. It's got games. It's got an article about fantasy. It's got really good romantic stories in it. Please do grab a copy. And of course, if you grab any copy of one of our anthologies or zines, we are a small indie press showcasing small indie authors, and we would love to see a review from you. Thank you so much. And Jenna?
Yeah, thank you for listening. I'm going to thank Suzy again for being here. It was really fun to see her again because we were baby writers together.
Cute.
And here we are all these years later. So thank you to her. And again, we will have links to her books and her information in our show notes. Wherever you're listening to us, please follow or subscribe so that when we post again, because I know you want to hear these crazy ramblings we do every week. Until next time, peace, love, and happily ever after.